Good morning everyone. Well, it's morning here in the northwest of England. It's actually quite a nice day today, so I thought I would do a bit of filming in my conservatory where it's nice and bright. Hope life's treating you well, everyone. What have you been making recently? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you all about the things that you've been creating and making. I know a lot of us probably do quite a few different crafts. I know I do, so it's not just confined to making beautiful pieces of jewellery. So let me know what you're making in the comments. Let's have a bit of a natter about what we're doing. Today I thought we'd have a look at some items, but loosely based around these little tiny heart motifs. Aren't they cute? Super easy to make, but you can use them for all sorts of different things. I'll just give you just a tiny little hint of what I've been making with them. I've used a copper washer with this one and attached the little motifs around with some 3mm beads. Isn't that cute? And I made this one recently with some larger hearts motifs and some tiny, I think these are 3mm hematite beads, which makes for a beautiful pendant. And I love the fact that there's a little bit of sort of shape and movement in this one. Gorgeous, isn't it? And obviously if you hammer it, you hammer the little pieces, you can get some lovely textured effects. I also have been making these really gorgeous, I mean, you know, I'm not sure if I like the word boho, but you know, that sort of carefree, spirited type jewellery, which I think people know as boho, but you know, anyway. I've made these guys here. Aren't they gorgeous? Again, with the little hearts. And just another couple of pairs to show you, and then we'll get going on the tutorial. These tiny little hearts make for a little bit more of a delicate piece than this one. So the world's your oyster really with these little guys. So I thought I would take you through today how to make the partner to this one. Okay, so this one's got obviously a larger and then 4 smaller ones with some faux turquoise beads. And how gorgeous is it? Beautiful. Okay, so I shall clear this lot away and we'll have a look at the materials that you're going to need to make the partner to this beautiful earring here. Okay, so just bear with me for a second. Okay, so for the frame of this, you're going to need 1.25mm or 16 gauge wire, copper. I like the tone of copper in its raw form, so you know, if you like to put a patina on your copper, etc., then that's absolutely brilliant. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I really like the colour of this. It suits any single skin tone in the world, so I think it's a universal colour, I think, is copper. So 1.25, that's says 18 on there, but it's actually 16 gauge. For the little hearts, you'll need 1mm, which is 18 gauge wire. I'll put all the equivalents in the description box for you. You'll need your regular flush cutters. You're going to need a 6-step bell making plier, if that's your choice. I use a 2 to 9 increment bell making plier for my pieces, or if you're very proficient, which I'm not, you can use a round nose plier. Okay, and you will also need at least 1 pair of chain nose. Okay, so let's just, for neatness, bring those down here. At least a couple of pairs of chain nose, 1 pair of chain nose. I tend to like to use the needle nose because it gets right in to the middle of little fiddly pieces. You will need some 0.4 millimeter wire. Again, I'll put the equivalent down in the description box for you. That's for the wrapping. And what else do we need? You're going to need a very basic bench block and chasing hammer. Now I know you guys have probably got all of these simple pieces of equipment in your stash already, so not very expensive, really affordable. Okay, so that's for a little bit of hammering. And you will need something to create your circular frame with. Now I use a ring mandrel for mine, just because that's what I've got in my collection. You can use things like marker pens, or indeed you know, bottles from nail polish, that kind of thing. Anything cylindrical that's perfectly cylindrical will be fine. Okay, so for today I'll be using the mandrel, but you can use anything for a mandrel as long as it's circular, cylindrical. Okay, and last but not least, you'll need some 3mm beads. So I'll be using these little guys to complete the partner to this one, but I've used little hematite before, actual genuine turquoise, which is beautiful. These are amazonite ones, they're really cute. And faux pearls, you know, that kind of thing. Anything, as long as it's sort of, I mean, you can use larger beads, but I'm using 3mm for this one. I think it's adds to the delicacy of the pieces. Okay, so gather all your things together, and we'll go through how to make the partner to this. The world's your oyster, guys. Let's meet up in a second. I'll see you soon. Okay, so we're back. Have you got all your materials ready? Let's go ahead and make the partner to this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to make the frame to the piece, which is pretty easy to make. We're going to be using the 1.25mm 16 gauge wire. Okay, so again, like with everything that we make, it's entirely up to you the size that you make it. So I know that this piece here measures around, yeah, about a Z on my mandrel. Okay, so what you need to do is to make sure that you cut a piece of wire off that will be sufficient for your needs. Okay, so I'll cut off about here. So you just use your judgment. Okay, so bring in your mandrel, or indeed whatever, you know, sort of equipment you're going to be shaping it round, and you want to be shaping the wire so that it crosses over. Okay, oh, a lot of plane activity over my house today. I'm sorry about the noise. Okay, so you just pop loosely around about the Z mark. Okay, so that you're left with this. Now for this guy here, you want to leave a bit of crossover, because we're going to be bending the wire to form hoops. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to cut mine approximately here. And approximately about here. Okay, so can you see how much crossover we've got? So whatever mandrel you use, you want to have a little bit of crossover, maybe about 1 centimetre or so. Yeah. Okay, so let's get rid of these little pieces here. Then you come in with your pliers. Okay, so what we want to be doing now is creating the little hoops on either side. So what we need to do is, using the 6-step bow making pliers, is to come around sideways. Okay, now this will make sense when you do it yourself. So you roll around the plier so that you have this. Okay, you want to do the same in the same direction. Okay, so that the openings are in the same direction. So again, roll it around to the side so that we have this. Okay, you then want to come in and put a little kink into your wire so that you're straightening the little hoops up. Does that make sense? And on the other side, so that you have something along that kind of line. Okay, then we come in with our chain nose pliers and just straightening things up a little bit. You want to put your pliers just where the hoop starts and bend it upwards like so. Bend it upwards so that we have an open hoop with our little hoops standing upwards. Okay, so that's your frame made. Hope you followed that okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to hammer not hugely flat, but a little, put a little bit of flattening on this wire, and I'm going to do that off camera, mainly because it's super loud and it's very tedious for you guys to watch it. Okay, so I'll come back in a second when I flatten this. Okay gang, how did we get on? Did we enjoy taking our frustrations out on our poor innocent piece of copper wire here? I know I did. Obviously, as you probably are aware, that when you hammer copper wire, it can make it spread out a little bit. So what I like to do is just come back in with my mandrel, whatever it is that you're using, pop it back on, shape it back into, you know, a circular shape if you need to, that kind of thing. Okay, just so long as it matches your other piece, which that does. Okay, so that's our frame made. All right, so just pop that to one side for now. The next thing we need to do is to make our little heart motifs. Okay, so in the description box I will put down the lengths and obviously the size of wire, etc., that I've used. This guy takes 4 centimeters, and this little cutie here, which you'll need 4 for each earring, takes 3 centimeters. Okay, so we'll go through how to make those. So you come in with your 1 millimeter wire. Again, like always, we like to flush cut the end, just for neatness. And we take 4 centimeters of wire. So for your pair of earrings, you'll need 2 of these guys, okay? So using the second step on my 2 to 9 plier, put the wire at the end so that you can't feel it. And just wind round to make a loop on that side, like a P. And then again on the other side, the same thing in the same direction. Okay, so we have this. All right, now if you really want to be completely precise, you can measure this. And because we're going to be putting a little bend in here to make the point of the heart. Okay, I tend to just eyeball it, but if you want to measure it, you want to make a bend literally just above where the center point is, if you want to find a Sharpie and mark it. Okay, so what I tend to do is just get my chain nose and literally just eyeball it. So I make a bend there against this part of the plier. I then alter and bend that in. Give it a little bit of a tweak if you need to, and that's your heart. Okay, so we'll make a smaller version of that. So the smaller ones, of which you'll need 4 for each earring, takes 3 centimeters of wire. Okay, so again, flush cut the end, 3 centimeters, snip, and I come in with the first step on my plier for this one. Again, same principle, bend it round to make a P, and again around to make a P in the same direction. Okay, so that we have this, we have this shape here. Okay, again, come in with your pliers, and we want to be bending it just above the center point. Don't know if the camera is picking that up, hopefully it is. Literally make a bend, alter and squeeze so that we have this cute little heart. Okay, so you can use these hearts for all sorts of things, including putting jump rings in between to make bracelets, you know, that kind of thing. It's very versatile. So, seeing as we're making a pair of earrings, you're going to want 2 of the larger ones and 8 of the smaller ones. Okay, so when you've made them, you then want to give them a little light tapping with your little bench block and your hammer, just to give it a little bit of flattening, mainly because it enables the little heart motifs just to sit nicely on top of the flattened frame. Okay, so are we ready to go on to the next step? Hopefully you've tapped all your little components here. Okay, so I just want to have a quick chat with you about the placement of these little motifs. If we start to arbitrarily wrap on this side here, I'm right-handed, so I go here from left to right. You're going to come up with the problem that if you don't get it, you know, exact, you're going to have all of these guys slightly offset or not in the right place. So my suggestion is that you come in with your little components here and place them pretty much where you think you're going to want them. Okay, so here I have all my little hearts, so I'm just going to place them, as you can see I'm doing here, pretty much where I want them, and make sure that the bottom central one is central, okay, which that looks about right there. Okay, then what you want to come and do is to just grab a marker pen, a little Sharpie or some such, just place a little mark just at the top of where your heart starts here, and that will give you an indication as to where this one should stop and this one should start. Okay, so that's just a little tip that I would suggest you do. Okay, so let's get on with the wrapping. So you're going to want to use probably with your 0.4mm wire, I'm going to suggest that you take probably about 30 centimeters, a foot, 12 inches of your wire. Now, if there is any left over at the end, which there may be, I always say it's better to have too much than not enough. You're going to be able to use up the little scraps in order to wrap your little beads. Okay, so don't worry too much about there being any wastage on this particular part. So we take our frame. Let me put that one there for reference. Okay, so we've got our frame here with our little blue or black or whatever marks on. Place your wire over the top, just literally where that mark starts, and wrap it probably a couple of times, maybe 4. Yeah, we'll go for 4, just above where the blue mark is. So it's 3 and then 4. Okay, there we go. Actually that's 5, but it doesn't matter as long as you replicate it on the other side. So here we have our anchor point. This is where we take our first little heart motif, place it just on top of the wire, not like this, but just on the top. And obviously we've explained that it gives it more stability. Now this first bit is slightly fiddly, but worth it, okay? Totally worth it. So we bring the wire through and wrap our first wrap. Can you see that? And again, making sure not to kink your wire. bring your wire through. Oh, bear with me because I'm working through the camera here. Okay, I use my finger here to stop the wire from kinking, so hopefully it won't do that whilst I'm on camera. Okay, so that's your second wrap, and pull it taut. Okay, and then I do a third one through. Just use your finger here to stop the wire from kinking. So we have 3 wraps, okay, inside the first ring of this heart here. Now in between the 2 hoops you're going to want 2 more wraps. So take your wire, put it through the center here, so that it comes in between. You just need to move, just pull that apart slightly just to accommodate it. You can do. Just want a slight gap in between. There we go. And then up. This just anchors it in the center. Okay. Again, up through the center. Make sure your wire doesn't kink. Okay, so that's 2 in between. Okay, so we're making sure that everything's nice and tight and taut all the time. We then want to bring in 3 more wraps in this second hoop here. So again, up through, ensuring that your wire doesn't twist, because it will want to, because it's horrible sometimes. Okay, so that's 1. Up through. Okay, you see that? And then up for a third. So up through the little hoop. Again, ensuring that your wire doesn't kink over. Okay, so that's 3. Okay, so let's just have a look at what we've got here. So we started with 5 wraps, 3 in the first hoop, 2 in the center of the hoops, and then 3 in the second hoop. Okay, so that's your first heart secured. Congratulate yourself. How cool is that? Okay, so I like another 2 wraps in between each heart. So basically wrap and then wrap, ready to start again. Okay, so let's do one more. So we take our second smaller heart motif and place it on the top of the wire on the frame, just next to where you've wrapped those 2 wraps in between. Okay, so up through. If I can see what I'm doing, which I can't, there we go. So up through. Okay, so that's your first wrap. Again, up through. And then around. You hear my dog snoring. Oh, glory. Snoring. There you go. Excuse the snoring dog. And then up through for a third. Okay. And then back round. Okay, so can you see how that's now attached your second little heart motif? So keep going all the way round with 3 in each of the small hoops, 2 in the center, like so, making sure again that your wire doesn't hate you and want to kink up. Okay, back through, so that's 2, oops, 2 in between. Like so. Okay, can you see? So that's 2 in between. And then 3 through this second loop here. Okay, so up through. So that's 1. And that's 2. And then up for a third. Okay. So that's your third. Okay, so that's 2 of your hearts completed. Okay, so again, two wraps in between the hearts. That's 1, that's 2. So at this point, just have a quick look, eyeball it, make sure that everything looks like it should, which it does. And you want to go ahead and literally move these just to one side if you find that there's just a slight discrepancy in the centralness of everything. So if you don't do it at this stage, you won't be able to. Okay, so that looks fine. So go ahead, take your larger heart and wrap that one, and then complete this, the circuit there. So by the time you get the last one on, it should hit that other little blue spot. Okay, so we'll meet back when you've popped all of your little hearts on. Okay, so have fun and we'll see you in a few. Okay, so we're back, guys. How are you getting along? I'm just gonna finish this little guy off here. So our last 3 little wraps through this final heart hoop here. So that's 1. Hope you did okay with this. A little fiddly to start with, I think, until you get the hang of it, but totally worth it, I would say, don't you think? Okay, so we'll come up for number 3 and just pop that through. Okay, so that's all of our hearts attached to the frame. Okay, so can you see how, because we've measured and popped a little mark on each side, that we have at the bottom larger heart completely central. Okay, so that's just my little tip for you. Okay, so if we've got, how many have we got on there? 5. So if we've got 5 wraps on that side, we want to replicate that with 5 wraps on the other side to finish off. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, so the next thing we need to do obviously is just to snip off these little tails. So if we have 5 there, take it to the back and snip. And again, take it to the back and snip at the back. Keep that little piece of wire there if you've got some left over, because we can use that to wrap one of our little beads. Okay, so come in with your chain nose at this stage and just tidy the back. Okay, so if you squeeze and twist, then that essentially does what they call, like, the burnishes the wire to the wire. So squeeze lightly and twist, and that just makes it so it's not sharp. Again, squeeze and twist slightly, and then just come around and very gently don't like properly squeeze it, just give it a little bit of a along the wrapping wire, just to neaten everything up. Okay, so how do you feel about that? Are you happy? You've created something beautiful even without the beads, haven't you? I mean, you could literally just wear that as is. I have a few pairs of just simple ones without any beads, and they look beautiful, don't they? Okay, but let's go ahead with some colour and some beads. Okay, so you're going to need for a pair of earrings, obviously 4 for each side. So that's 8 3mm beads. Okay, so let's get on to the next part. So here I've brought in my faux turquoise. I mean, real turquoise is beautiful, but it's so expensive, isn't it? Okay, so what we want to be doing is to wrap. Let me point to where we're wrapping. We want to be wrapping 4 wraps around this area of the first heart, and then we pop on the bead, and then we secure it with 4 wraps on this first arch of the second heart. Okay, so come in with your wire and start wrapping. Now you want to be going over the top because we want this wire, the right hand side, to come underneath your piece, just because I think it looks a bit neater with the bead. Okay, so I'm going to be using my little pliers here because I do have arthritic fingers, and sometimes I find it difficult to grasp these smaller wires. Okay, so over the top and then under and through. Secure it. Okay, so can you see that? I'll do a couple of tight up close-ups, I think, when I'm editing this video, guys, so that you can see what I'm doing. Underneath and through. Tighten that up. So can you see we've got 3? And then tighten things up. Pull it through for a 4th. And then round and underneath. So there we are. You see we have 4 wraps on this first arch, this second arch of the first. You see that? Okay. So then we want to put our little bead on. So place your little tiny bead onto the wire. So can you see how because we've wrapped underneath, it looks a lot neater, I think, for the wire to be underneath. Okay, so to secure this bead in between, we take this wire and bring it underneath this second heart. Okay, you see that? So keeping everything nice and secure with your fingers, and that bead in place, bring that up and tighten it. Not too hard so you snap your wire, obviously. Can you see that? That's nice and secure now. Bring it underneath and through. And again, because of my stupid arthritic fingers, I use my pliers to do this part. So up and through. So that's 3. Do as many as you like. I mean, you could even, if you wanted to, do all the way around, so you've got a bit more texture. I mean, you know, like I always say, the world is your oyster, and these are just ideas really for you. You don't have to follow it, you know, by rote. And then just squeeze these little guys together so that everything's nice and neat. So can you see how we did that? So each one of these now is nice and secure. So again, come in to the back and snip, come into the back and snip. And again, bringing your pliers in, just give that a little bit of a tweak if you need to, and squeeze and twist slightly so that it burnishes the wire against the heart. Just keeps it nice and secure. Okay, so that's our first bead attached. So all you'll need to do now is do that 3 more times, and then we'll meet back at the end when we've got all our beads attached, and then we'll look at the ear wire. Okay, so have fun. I'll see you in a few. Okay guys, we're back. How did you get on? Hope you had lots of fun making these and they weren't too fiddly for you. I think a little bit of fiddliness is well worth it for the effect that you get. I mean, aren't they beautiful? The only thing we need to do now is to make the ear wires. I suggest that you use 0.8mm wire, which I neglected to tell you that you're going to need at the beginning of the video, but hey ho, I'm sure you'll forgive me. So you're going to need to take 2 lengths of 0.8mm wire. I suggest you use about 3 centimeters because you can alter that. You can cut them slightly shorter at the end if you need to. Okay, so 3 centimeters, and then flush cut the end again, and then another 3 centimeters. Really, really easy to do these. Okay, so that's your wire cut. What we'll need to do is to take the first step of your plier, or indeed your round nose if you're proficient in those, right at the end like so, and make a little P shape in both. You do them both at the same time, then they're definitely going to be the correct size. What we need to do now is to make a little bend in the wire. Okay, so I use the 5th step on my plier. So placing, we'll do it one at a time so you can see what I'm doing. Placing the wire thus, just bend it slightly like so. So you have this kind of shape. Okay, and do the same with the other one. So that the P is away from you, sorry, facing you on this step here. Just bend your wire like so. Okay, so that we have this kind of shape. The only thing you need to do now is to come in with your chain nose, and you just want to put a little angle on it. So chain nose so that you have that kind of shape. Okay, I'll do it one more time with this one. Chain nose about here and bend it upwards so that you have this kind of shape. Okay, so at this stage I would be hammering slightly around this area here just to give it some stability. Okay, but for the purposes of the video I won't. So there are 2 ways that you can go about this. You can attach the ear wire, and each time you put the piece on, just bend this slightly. I'm going to just nip those slightly, as I thought I would have to. If they're slightly too long for your piece, just give them a bit of a snip. So don't forget that these are handed, so when you're wearing them in your ear, you want to make sure that this decorative outer edge is facing outwards. Okay, so for this earring, for my left ear, I would turn it that way, so that the decorative, not the inside I call it, but the outside is facing outwards. Okay, so you would attach this part of your ear wire to this part here. So as always, oops, open it sideways like so, and oops, attach it to your hoop, and then close it off. Working through the camera is difficult, so bear with me guys. Turn that the other way around. Essentially you're just attaching this to the hoop. Okay, can you see what we have here? So we have that literally attached. Okay, now some people would like to just pop it through like so, which I tend to do because the copper has a little bit of give in it, and it doesn't bother me too much, just gently opening it in and out. Can you see that as I'm putting it on? Okay, there are other people who would prefer not to do that. And if that's the case, then I'll show you what else you can do. Just snip that slightly. Okay, so again, remember that this is handed. So this is your right ear. So the outside turns that way. So you would need to pop your hoop here at the front. Okay, so I'll just do that. Okay, so instead of popping it through every time, you can open this hoop up a little, like so. And every time you put your earring on, you can literally just hook it underneath, like so. Okay, now it's entirely up to you. Either way works, but there you go. So how beautiful are these guys? There's your earrings all done. Okay, so you can put a patina on them if you prefer. You can leave them like I like to, with this beautiful copper colour. And I hope you have so much fun making these. You can do them with all sorts of different sized heart motifs, like here. I've put a little teardrop bead at the bottom of these ones. And with these ones, I've made them with all little tiny hearts, which are 2.5 centimetres in length, for a little bit more of a delicate piece. Okay, so have lots and lots of fun. Let me know how you get on in the comments, guys, and if you have any questions or if I can help you with anything, please do go ahead and ask, and I'll try my very, very hardest to get back to you as soon as I can. Granted, I'm on UK time, so if you do that and I don't get back to you quickly, then that's mainly because I'm asleep with my little dog and my husband, of course. So I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a lot of fun. It's lovely to have you here as always. Bye.